By REMAX Diamond Realty.
Here we are in our home once again, getting ready to give you the home of your dreams. And you may recall that Liz and Gina from REMAX Diamond Realty Guam were here last week talking about seller's credit. Only Liz is here this time, which is good. I have all of your knowledge to myself, which I greatly appreciate.
Yeah, well, Gina's off to Palau. She's teaching a class over there.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
And enjoying the gorgeous view.
Exactly. She's got quite the vista. But
That's right.
So since we were talking about like seller's credit and everything, I've always wondered, are there other types of credit that could be applied, say, if when the house isn't in the same condition when I actually arrive, or when you're doing your assessment, as when I first checked it out?
Yes, I have one example to bring up is a buyer looks at a home and says, yes, I want to purchase it. And then they write up the offer. Of course, prior to closing, they have like a window of time to look at it. But one of the contingencies in the purchase agreement states that the purchase is subject to their inspection, but the power and water have to be on in order to do that. So if there's any delays, of course, it takes a while. But one situation is power and water got turned on. And when they initially inspected, everything looked fine. When they went in after the water was turned on, someone had lifted the faucet in the master bedroom.
Oh, no.
And water overflowed.
Oy.
And it ruined the sink cabinet. So, of course, I had to call the seller and say, Mr. Seller, this wasn't an existing condition, and would you replace it or credit it? So seller decided, I'm going to credit X amount. So I ran around, got pricing for what it would cost to replace the cabinet and the fixture and whatever, and factored in labor costs that would go with replacing it. So seller was crediting X amount to the buyer at close of escrow to replace it. So he had a choice of either doing the work himself, but buyer said, it's okay, just give me a credit. So we did that. And then on top of that, we found that the air conditioner was not working. So again, we got quotes, got the seller's approval, and he says, go ahead and replace it. And of course, it came from the seller's proceeds.
Okay, this leads me to ask two questions, right? One, whose responsibility is it to actually assess and quantify how much credit that is? Is it the seller? Is it the real estate agent? Or
no, it's
do they negotiate?
It's the seller.
And then two.
And it's negotiated, yes.
Yeah, and then two, is this transaction all off the books once, because the papers have already been signed by that point?
The papers are already signed. However, if there's a condition that's not acceptable to the buyer, for example, of course we can discuss it. We're the middleman who I represent the seller, the other agent represents the buyer. So our objective is to hopefully make it work so that both parties walk away happy. I mean, that's our overall objective, to make it work. Of course, it's the seller's call, his responsibility to figure out, do I want to give them credit? Do I want to do the repairs? Or they negotiate and either meet halfway, or seller says, hey, I don't want to do this. You take it or you leave it. So there are points on both sides. And again, we are just the middle person to try to facilitate the process. The decisions that are made are on the seller's side, and decisions made on the buyer's side.
You did that as the agent of your own volition, just to help
well,
out.
in terms of the quote, yes, I did it because I wanted to expedite the process because the seller is off island. So I was helping him come up with quotes. So we got different quotes, gave it back to him and say, hey, do you approve it? I mean, what's your feedback? Do you want to do this? So it's not as agents, it's not our call. It's always the buyer's call or the seller's call. And we're just there to facilitate the process.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, the seller may be, oh, I have a cousin that knows how to do, is a good,
yes.
is a good plumber, and like he'll just fix it for me and everything. Or what you did in the case, you provided an itemized list, like say a washer was 99 cents, a new plumbing fixture was $4.57 and everything like that, and you just said plus the labor on top of that, so your total is X number of hundreds of dollars.
Right, and for us, it's what we refer to as our customer service. If we make it easy for either party to go through the process as painless as possible, that's what we focus on in assisting, the parties.
And then again, if I'm the buyer, should I actually keep that receipt in addition to my mortgage payments and all the,
yes, it's considered an expense on your side. So
could I use that for tax purposes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's something. Can I actually use repairs and and the credit and all these things that we've been talking about for the last couple weeks as tax for myself even before I move in?
Well, whenever you purchase property, during the course of your ownership, you have to make sure any repairs or any improvements, renovations, you want to collect that because that's referenced in your taxes. You know, your CPA, of course, we're not CPAs, but they would assist you in that process to say what you can deduct, what can be expensed. They're the experts in that area. We just, say collect it and then see the CPA, and then your tax consultant will tell you what you can deduct from your taxes.
So bottom line, what we've learned from this little session today is, one, we live in an imperfect world and things happen.
Yes.
And it's just good business to fix them and
Yes.
everything like that and to credit the client back.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
If they negotiate it and it's acceptable to both sides.
This is very reassuring. Liz, we thank you as always.
Thank you.
All right, and we thank you as always, and we look forward to seeing you when we come back from this break.